Coming to you live with the insight you need from the financials and political capitals of the world to the heart of innovation. This is Opportunities to Consider with your host, author, speaker, and corporate strategist, Hunter Gayler.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Markets Hunter. I am your host, Hunter Gaylor, here, bringing to you live. We are live across all channels right now, so make sure you tune in, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. I am joined today with the CEO of Presto AI, Krishna Gupta, who is the CEO and chairman of Presto AI. Krishna, thank you for joining me today on the program.
Great to be here, Hunter.
So, there's obviously a lot of news going on with the future of AI and ChatGPT and all of these things going on. And, you know, it's a very exciting space. But what's really interesting about your company, and I'm very excited to talk with you, is kind of the thing that almost probably every American has experienced, and that's drive-through ordering. Okay. So we talk about supply chain management. We talk about, increasing efficiencies in the supply chain. You have a background just a little bit from reading where you went to MIT. So for all of the people out there listening and going back and watching the stream after we have our conversation today, let's just get to know you a little bit, right? Let's tell us a little bit about your background and then what got you interested in obviously AI. And then specifically Presto AI. And for all of our people, from a market hunter's perspective, make sure you follow the company. They have a great website, very informative. Everything will be in the links below when we're on LinkedIn and YouTube, and so you can follow along here. Their stock symbol is PRST. They're currently trading at $2.26. Pretty good volume for the company. Obviously NASDAQ, so make sure you take a follow and a like to this company as well. So without further ado, Krishna, thank you, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Hunter. I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of talk about AI, new models, new opportunities, but there are relatively few immediately actionable opportunities where you can place cutting-edge AI in some application and create value, right? And so drive-throughs happen to be one of those opportunities right now where I can take the drive-through, I can automate it, and I can do that using our own proprietary technology that we've built over the last couple of years. And we're doing it live. We're doing it in a bunch of chains across the country. We're at a point in time where every sort of QSR chain that has drive-through as a major part of its operation, every single one is thinking about, how do I automate the drive-through?
Right.
And we happen to be the market leader for that. And we're the market leader for that partially because of technology, but partially because of the fact that we have a long history in restaurants. So let me get to the history part for a second. How did I get here and why are we doing what we're doing? I started out at MIT. I did my engineering, my business degrees there. I actually started a venture capital firm. Okay. And there I met the founder of Presto, Raj Suri. And I was the first investor in the business. And I, over time, became the largest shareholder in the business. But in those early days, we were just focused on one simple thing, which is how do we change the restaurant experience focused on the customers? And how do we introduce cutting-edge technology to do that? So Raj and I used to sit down at the top next door at MIT. We used to write trivia questions for our tabletop devices. We used to think about and discuss ideas on what these large chains should be doing to revolutionize the customer experience using technology.
Right.
And we were really early to the game. Nobody else was really thinking about this. We were too early. And over the years, more and more of these restaurant chains started realizing that labor costs are a major problem. Labor wages only go one way. They only go up. And they're getting to the point now where you have to solve that problem some way or the other, right? So that's how it all started. And because of that, we've got this long experience in restaurants. We've got a ton of relationships in the industry. We know how to integrate, and we know how to deliver. So I'll pause there. Does that help?
And what I'd like to do is just, I want to point out for our viewing audience, right? Checkers, KFC, Outback, Applebee's, Red Lobster, Chili's, Carl's Jr., Hardee's. I mean, these are Del Taco. These are major names. These aren't just like some little, mom and pop drive up taco shop, right? These are major chains that obviously, when you look at any type of business development, you're always looking at, you got to be wary of your costs, right? And just as you're saying, given the way that the economy is going right now, every little penny counts. So one of the things that's very interesting on your site, you talk about a strong ROI. The conversational AI can deliver a better ROI because it leads to faster service and happier guests. I want to dive deep into that because we are seeing more types of automation and new technologies in these chains, right? We're seeing, if I go to an Outback, I don't have the waiter coming up to me anymore. I'm ordering from an iPad or a device, and then I'm paying at the table. So I'm having these, like you were saying, these game things now for, kids, all sorts of things that are going on. But specifically in AI with the voice, walk us through why the drive-through aspect of it to start. Because I'm sure there's a lot of different applications out there, but specifically on the drive-through with the voice AI, it kind of walk us through that aspect of the business.
Sure. By the way, Hunter, I'm getting an echo, and I'm wondering if that's feeding.
No, it's not. I hear you just fine. So if you're getting an echo, maybe it's the other one. I will. If you could talk now, see if that works.
Does this work? No, I'm still hearing the echo. I'm worried that that's feeding into the speaker, and you'll record that audio.
No, it's not. You're coming through just clear on my end. So.
Okay. Cool. So why drive-through? Well, during the pandemic, so first of all, there's a lot of different places where AI can be applied in restaurants. Okay, but you have to rank them between how much value they provide to the restaurants today, and then how immediately applicable they are, in the industry, right? And so it turns out, so you've got, you can do robotics, you can do automatic like French fry makers, Flippy, the burgers, et cetera. Those are all cool, but they're going to take some time before they actually like create any impact, right? I mean, you got Sweetgreen doing their automatic like salad bowl maker. Like, I don't see those things replacing labor anytime soon.
Right.
But on the drive-through side, we are at a really unique point in time where there's a convergence of what the technology can do, right? I would say like 18 months ago, it'd be like, oh no, the voice AI isn't there, right? So you have the technology actually being ready right now.
Right.
And on the other side, you have this immediate market need. And that market need is coming from a couple things. One is the pandemic, I think, made it clearer to QSR chains that the drive-through is going to be a bigger part of their business going forward, right? So the in-store dining for QSRs is dropping, and obviously delivery has increased and drive-through has increased, right? So go ahead.
No. I want to stay on that point for a little bit because, I've talked to other companies like Quantum Computing, and they just did a partnership with Million Ways, which is an emotional AI program. And when you're going through a drive-through, I know when I do it at Starbucks or anything like that, and I'm talking to the individual, there's some sort of like human interaction that is happening. So with the advancements of AI, how personal are we starting to get now, especially in our food ordering?
Well, I think it isn't that personal in the drive-through yet. You're talking about how personalized the ordering is?
Yeah, from an AI perspective, when they start, the big and I'm not trying to create any, tough questions. I just know that there are sometimes very complicated latte orders people do. And so the other person on the end is saying, okay, well, was that an iced vanilla latte, or was that a hot latte, or it was the hold the ice, or do this, or we want extra shots of that. I mean, how intuitive, obviously, is AI in the drive-through? Because some people like to customize their orders. Walk us through what you've been experiencing.
Yeah, I mean, look, the drive-through is really interesting because you're solving for a couple things. You're solving for speed. Right. You're solving for, the perfect order. The restaurants are solving for the higher check size. The customer's solving for, like, I want exactly the order that my mind wants right now, right? And then the third thing you're solving for is just general customer satisfaction, which is, do they feel like the experience went well? Is it customized? So, the status quo, which is a minimum wage employee taking your order, there is almost no personalization other than, there's customization possible. The person might say, I want this, I want ketchup, I want that. But the actual order taker is not particularly attentive to the needs or the demands of the customer. Furthermore, I think, the average order taker today forgets to upsell, forgets to ask about do you want this? How about this special of the day or that? There's none of that going on, right? So the AI, that's where the huge opportunity in AI lies. To be honest, while the labor savings, the labor augmentation, labor automation part is really interesting, and that's sort of like table stakes, the actual massive value comes from two things. One is the upsell, which I always like to talk about, like the perfect upsell, which is the customer walks away feeling like he or she got something that they didn't even know they wanted, but they really wanted. For me, that's like a chocolate brownie or a chocolate shake or anything that has to do with chocolate, right? Right. But for the restaurant, it's like, wow, can I personalize this thing by time of day? Can I personalize this thing over time? We've got even computer vision where we can personalize it by the license plate, right? We can figure out if you're plugged into the loyalty program, I can figure out what you've ordered in the past, and I can say, well, do you want this? Do you want that? Based on what you've ordered already, I can sort of have an algorithm that says, well, if he's ordered a bunch of things that are spicy, then maybe I want to offset that with like a lemonade or something, right? So like there's all kinds of customization, and the gap between what can be done with AI and what is being done with humans is so massive. Right. So that's one big, I think that's going to be a massive ROI. We're seeing it already as we're deploying it in restaurants. The third piece, which I actually don't talk about much, but I'm going to talk about here because I just got out of a meeting this morning with a C-level at a restaurant chain whose main focus was this, which is the data, which is that I want the voice of the customer. Well, guess what? When you have AI taking orders in the drive-thru, you actually have all of the voice of all of the customers, right? And it's not, and I don't mean that in a creepy way. You don't know who it is. But what I mean is you can say, well, would you like a pistachio latte with that thing? Would you like a lemonade with that thing? The way I respond, you mentioned something about emotional AI. I'm big into emotional AI, actually. You can tell with that sentiment that person sound excited. They sound, and so now suddenly, rather than like sending some QR code 3 days later, right, you're in the moment getting a perspective on is the customer excited about this particular product that I just introduced, or what? So that is going to, by the way, I think create a huge amount of value, which is harder to quantify in terms of ROI. So we don't really talk about it much. But if you ask me what happens 3 to 4 years from now, there's a perfectly personalized order, and I'm getting real-time feedback on every single order and getting real-time voice to customers that informs how I run my business.
Well, not even that. And I'm glad you brought that up because this is what I was going to lead to. When we talk about customer satisfaction, and I've always been, just shocked when these companies spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire firms like McKinsey and Bain, and nothing against McKinsey and Bain consultants, right? But I
started my career at McKinsey, so I get it.
Okay. But it's like, the happy smiley face button press, right? Versus like the red angry button face press to then get a tally of oh, wow, there's a lot of bad smiley face or frowny faces or whatever being pressed in the restaurant. And they're not realizing that some little kid over there just pressing the button 500 times. Right. So, but with the way that we're seeing with this emotional AI, and especially in the drive-through, is if you can do it in real time and you can get overall customer satisfaction, right, across your nationwide store chains, right, on the sentiment, the happiness, whether or not they're like, hey, yeah, I'm excited to be at Taco Bell because I want their bacon chalupa, right? Versus, hey, this is good. He listened to my order. But to be able to have that emotional aspect of connecting with the customer, to me, I would think from just an overall management perspective, I can say people are genuinely happy when they come to McDonald's, right? People are genuinely happy when they come to KFC. They're not like angry. They're not pissed off. They're going to like, this guy's going to get my order wrong. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these applications are. And you mentioned one thing that I want to go back. You mentioned how as AI is coming out, and I'd like you to go back to this because, I mean, you're an investor, but you're also, a CEO and chairman of this company, which is an AI company. You've got major clients. You went to MIT. When you talk about the use cases of AI right now, practical use cases. And I'm not talking about, you being in college and using ChatGPT to write your case studies, right? What I'm saying is real industry application where it makes sense, right? And when we talk about labor issues, we talk about a lot of government issues that are going on with the restaurant industry and what you're doing with this AI and the voice AI. Does it translate to other industry verticals?
It's a really good question, Hunter. We talk about that as a leadership team. To be honest, it definitely translates. I don't know, I can see use cases in healthcare and retail and, all kinds of things. For us as a company, we're laser focused right now on just scaling up what we can, because we can own this market. I think this market can easily take us to hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. So it's kind of like, well, if I believe that 3 years from now, there's not going to be a human taking an order in the drive-through, and I'm currently the market leader, and there's every reason why I should win this market, well, then I'd be stupid not to just focus on this market right now, right? But that being said, I think there will be a point in time, if we're really kind of just killing it over the next year or two, where we could easily take this and all the learnings we have, and we could take it to adjacent verticals. And I think there are massive opportunities to do that. The devil lies in, a lot of the applications people talk about are consumer focused, right? To your point, it's some app that helps me learn blah, 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 this or that. That's hard to monetize. So, like, I get these companies that sort of come over, they want me to invest in them or whatever, and they've got all this revenue. I know that most of that revenue will be gone a year from now because the consumers will flee or whatever. On the enterprise side, the challenge, and this is why we are the market leaders, that you have to figure out how to actually integrate into the back end systems of all these customers. And in each industry, that's different, right? And then you have to figure out how to convince all these people on the enterprise decision-making side. The restaurant thing, it's even harder. It's two-layered. You've got to convince the corporate brands, and then you've got to convince the franchisees, right? And we've got experience doing all that. But if you're like a new little AI company coming out, if you're a 10-person AI company coming out of, I don't know, Silicon Valley or wherever,
right?
It's really hard. So that's why, I actually think the biggest thing that this AI boom has done is it's the decision makers now no longer are sitting there wondering like, well, is AI a futuristic thing or is it a now thing, right? They all kind of get it. It's a now thing, right? And I think that's the big change we're seeing.
Well, and what I really like is, and for all the listeners and people that are going to go back and listen to this, follow them on Twitter. It's at Presto_AI, and also follow my guest here on Twitter as well. Presto, and to me, it's always what is the business, and I really like how you worded this, or how your company worded this. It's a leader in labor productivity solutions for hospitality businesses. Straight, clear, to the point. So yes, solving the drive-through issue with the upsells and everything like that, and especially when you get into, I can just imagine, it's a minivan pulling up, there's soccer balls in the back. You start seeing all this, it's like, hey, the possibilities literally become endless when you think about it from an upsell perspective. But when we talk about labor productivity, okay, and you say that you're a labor productivity solution for hospitality businesses, instead of just increasing the overall efficiency of whatever supply chain you're working on, specifically in the hospitality sector, walk us through the importance of AI from the corporate feedback. What are you hearing from the CEOs that are using this, or the leaders of these companies or these franchise? What is the response that they're getting back having implemented this? Are they seeing the increased, upsells? Are they seeing, better customer retention? Are they seeing more orders being placed, happier customers, more efficient drive-through lines? What are we seeing there?
Yeah, well, look, we just announced CKE as a nationwide sort of, we've got the MSA signed. We're now able to sort of roll this out at participating, drive-throughs across the country. And that is on the heels of an extensive pilot, right, which tested all the things you just talked about. So absolutely, I'll tell you what they want, right? They want to save half a person to a person of labor, right, at any given store. That's straight cost reduction for them. then they want to see an increase in check size, right? And we're seeing a pretty substantial increase in check size. Then they want to see a consistent, like the same number of seconds for how fast you can go through the drive-through. And that's a little bit tricky of an optimization, to be candid, that last part, because if we are now upselling where the status quo is nobody was upselling, by definition, that's going to add a few seconds on, right? And so there's an optimization of like, oh, well, first of all, I think the AI will get better and better, and eventually, even with the upsells, we'll be at parity. But otherwise, there's an optimization of like time of day. So if it's like lunch hour, well, maybe we're doing a little bit less upsell, and we're really just like getting people through as fast as we can. Whereas if it's like 3 p.m., maybe you're doing more upsells, right? So that there's an optimization there. And then the last thing, obviously, that people care about is customer satisfaction, right? These are brands, and the brands care a lot about their brands. And so they want people to feel like, obviously, there's going to be a handful of customers that go through the drive-through and hear like an AI and, oh, I don't want that. I don't want a robot. But that's becoming less and less. And partially the reason for that is the voices are sounding more and more human-like, right?
Right.
And so over time, I think but they want to make sure that people, this in some ways, that's the only touch point that a customer might have with many of these brands. And so they really want that touch point to be perceived. You can call it an NPS score, you can call it a customer satisfaction survey, whatever you want to call it, but they want people to be happy, right? Or they want them to feel like and it might just be as simple as they got the item they wanted as fast as they wanted it, right? But whatever it is, customer satisfaction matters.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I can tell you as a person that's in Florida, Chick-fil-A is huge down here. And I don't care which Chick-fil-A it is, it's a 20-minute wait all the time, everywhere. And it just doesn't, unless you go at like midnight and they're not open, right? Or Sundays because they're not open. There will always be a line. And then they've had multiple things. So what I'm interested from an AI perspective is how it's going to start creating more efficiencies across the entire supply chain. And so that's why it's really, really exciting to talk to you. And we're going to keep following this company. And I'm really excited to see where the future goes. Do you have any kind of like final thoughts or things you'd like to share about the company, notable things that are going to be coming on that people should be following?
Yeah, look, I think I say this with humility but excitement, which is it's rare to be at a time in a place and time with a company where literally the industry is at the inflection point as we speak, right? Literally somewhere over the next handful of months, it'll get to the point where everyone's basically like, wow, we need to have this, right? And then it's like there's just going to be a mad rush towards for everyone to get this thing as fast as they can. So I think that's exciting for us inside the company, and hopefully for people who are listening and watching the company. I hope it's exciting for them too. And we hope you'll engage with us and be part of our journey.
Well, it was really great to have you on the program, and we're going to keep following this. I mean, I think everyone that listens to this channel and the people that follow us, I'm sure everyone, goes to fast food restaurants or drive-throughs. So this is something that we're going to be taking note of, am I talking to a human or an AI down the line? So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it goes. But Krishna, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. For everyone, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. We're on Twitter. Krishna's on Twitter. Presto AI's on Twitter. Follow them. Go to their site. Make sure you check out their stock as well. Very well-performing company. So we look forward to seeing how much more market share they take in this company by signing up more and more enterprise-level customers where they can start properly deploying this technology that's going to make a meaningful difference in labor productivity. So, Krishna, thank you again for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me, Hunter, and look forward to more conversations. Take care.
Good. Thank you. Be well. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that was the CEO and chairman of Presto AI. We really enjoyed you taking the time to listen to us. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And we'll be joining with them again. And like I said, this AI stuff is going to be very, very interesting to see where it goes. And really, it's hospitality. So how are the airlines going to handle this? How are restaurants going to handle it? How are hotels, cruise lines, things like that? So we're going to be keeping a good eye on this. So make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned.